guys, welcome back to another video. So it's been a little bit since my last upload and I feel like I have a little bit of explaining to do. I had made a community post announcing this video's arrival earlier in the month. It was really supposed to go up early this month because this month being October and Inktober going on, it would have been most relevant at the beginning of the month when most people had Inktober on their minds, but I am just going to settle for uploading this within the month of October period because I had kind of an unexpected family emergency happen around the middle of the month, so I kind of had to just drop everything and focus on that for a little bit. And then by the time it was mostly over and settled with, I struggled a lot kind of picking back up my motivation and creativity like from where I left off. In the beginning of the month I had all these plans and goals and all this motivation, and it all sort of just dropped when certain things happened. So I'm finally feeling a lot better and getting all of my motivation and inspiration and creativity back. So I am like ready to get back to work and focus on these projects that I have, but I appreciate your patience during this quieter month where I wasn't able to upload as much. With that out of the way, let's talk about the project in question. So if you weren't already aware, I am working on my very first manga series. I've written several one-off stories and comics over the years, but this is the first one that I intend to self-publish and have physical copies of, which is so exciting. That is, you don't understand, that has been the biggest dream of mine since I was in elementary school. I've always wanted to publish my own book, and I never really had the means to do so in the past until now that I have like a semi-decent story and I have a means of publishing and I'm pretty comfortable with where my art style is right now. So I figured, okay, this is probably one of the best times to go for it, so let's just do it. And where this ties into Inktober was, for this month in particular, even though this is a project that I will be working on from here onward, for this month in particular I wanted to really practice my digital inking, so I wanted to try to ink just as many pages as I possibly could, which technically I still was able to do this month. I did ink as many pages as I could, even though it wasn't as many as I had planned to do. I had planned to complete at least the whole entire first chapter, but I'm about halfway there, so I mean, hey, it's something. I can't get too upset about that. So while in years past for Inktober challenges, I did the actual real challenge a couple of times, but from then on, I sort of abandoned it and started doing my own thing every year. So for this year, I decided my own personal Inktober challenge would be to ink as many digital manga pages as I could, and thus kind of practice and build my digital inking skills a little bit more through that challenge. If by some chance the concept of Inktober is unfamiliar to you, it is an art challenge that was originally created by artist Jake Parker in 2009 with the intent to improve his inking skills and build good daily art habits. The classic Inktober challenge looks like a new daily prompt list every year for the month of October, so 31 days. It was originally intended as a means to practice with physical ink, and that's how I would always do the challenge in the past as well, but as the challenge grew in popularity and notoriety, many participants expanded their Inktober focus to include other types of art that they wanted to practice and other forms of inking as well, such as digital. Another way this challenge has morphed and evolved is that some artists have made their own versions of the challenge. So rather than following the official Inktober prompt list, they create their own prompt lists with an original hashtag for themselves and their communities to participate in. Sometimes it's another 31-day prompt list, and sometimes it's a daily prompt list with built-in breaks or off days, which I think is a really good and well appreciated idea for many. I've even seen some just weekly prompt lists too, so it's just like 4 weeks. I really love seeing how more and more people are becoming more understanding that daily challenges may not be as accessible for everybody, but I think in the end it's totally up to the individual person how they want to participate in the challenge. Like if someone wants to follow the official prompt list but leave out a few things, or switch prompt lists in the middle of the month or something because they like some prompts better, I think that's totally fine. I think the most important thing is that you're practicing and you're building good art habits, because that's kind of the original point of the challenge. And if someone needs to skip a couple days to take a break and refresh, that is totally fine too, because in the end it's literally just an online art challenge. It's not that deep. But yeah, that's basically what Inktober is. It's a 31-day inking challenge that happens every October. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the story behind these pages and these characters. Let me do my best to sum up the basic premise, because for some reason I am so good at writing the basic premise down, but when I try to vocally explain it, it for some reason gets kind of difficult. So the main character is a fox who is a baker. We start out the story, she is living in a small town in an old cabin that used to belong to her grandfather, who was also a baker and was very renowned in that small town. She had come from the big city where she was basically living her dream life, working at a restaurant after graduating a prestigious culinary school, but then she lost that job, her rent was raised, she couldn't stay at her apartment anymore, and she couldn't live in her dream city anymore, so she was forced to move out. While she works her way back to reclaiming that dream life by trying to find another form of income to save up and move back to the city, she spends some time keeping her skills sharp by studying her late grandfather's recipe book that he left behind and trying to recreate some of his most beloved treats for herself and for some of her friends that she meets in town to enjoy. She finds out pretty quickly, though, that a lot of the ingredients that he used can only be found in the great forest that surrounds the cabin. But the problem with this forest that surrounds her cabin and the whole town in general, it is strictly forbidden for entry. So she's faced with the dilemma of either continuing her grandfather's legacy in a way greater than she ever had been able to before, or getting caught breaking local law, risking legal consequences, including possible expulsion from the village, with, again, nowhere else to go. The funny thing is, there are a couple few others in town who also happen to be curious about the woods or have their own intentions for exploring it. They all end up encountering each other before long and form an odd, semi-reluctant, top-secret alliance of forest explorers. So the main plot revolves around our main character working her way back to her original goal, while a secondary plot surrounding an entire hidden community of explorers, monsters, treasures, and adventures within the forest unfolds. Its resolution intertwines in very unexpected ways with the resolution of the main plot. So that's a very watered-down basic summary of the story. It's called Fable Forest Bakery. This story is so special to me for so many reasons, but one of which is that, like I said, it's my first of all of my stories that I found worthy enough to actually move forward with self-publishing. It's an ambitious endeavor, but even if in my lifetime I'm only ever able to publish just the first volume of that series, I would be so excited to even be able to get to do that. I hope I made it sound at least mildly interesting. Like I said, I know the concept of the story, I can write it out for you, I can sum it up in like a sentence or two, but when I describe the story in depth for some reason, I don't know, I think I'm just not a very interesting person in general, and I'm not very good with words, so it's hard for me to describe the stories that I'm writing and make them sound exciting. But yeah, if you've been a subscriber for a while, you may remember the mini AMV I made earlier this year with a fox and a wolf and a sheep and a few others. While a little exaggerated at some parts to fit the theme of the song, that AMV actually includes characters and events directly from the Fable Forest Bakery story. It's kind of cool now that both of my main comic projects, both Fable Forest and Supernova, have an animated version. But yes, that is how I am choosing, or rather, that is how I chose to challenge myself for Inktober this year. Typically, if I attempt an Inktober challenge, I'm following a proper prompt list, like the classic way, but this year I am just totally paving my own route and going super unconventional. I didn't even make pages every single day. I mean, as much as I really would have wanted to, because again, life has just a way of happening. But I really am proud with the amount of pages I was able to get done, and like I also kind of mentioned earlier, this is going to be a continuous thing for me, so while I sort of was able to jumpstart it with Inktober motivating me to get as many done as possible, this is going to be something that I'm going to be continuing to challenge myself with, because I really want to get this book published as soon as possible, so that's now my primary motivation. If everything goes according to plan, the full first volume should be available by the end of next year. That is the goal I am setting. If you're interested in reading the story and you don't want to wait for the end of next year or whenever I'm able to complete and publish the book, I am planning to start releasing the first couple chapters of this book for all to read on comicfury starting in December of this year. That way the first couple chapters of the series will be public, free to read, and a nice little sample to determine whether or not you want to go ahead and buy the book or not. It's gonna go live with a 1 page a week upload schedule, just like Supernova. New pages every Sunday, both stories, 7 a.m. Eastern. But I'm impatient and I crave immediate feedback, so I always upload pages the moment they're finished to my Patreon for my supporters to get to read early. Like, very early. Like, the Patreon party is currently literally like half a year ahead of everyone else in the plot of the webcomic. So if you're interested in cute comics and original stories and enjoy never having to wait for the newest pages, consider joining the espresso tier of the Patreon party, which is basically the comic tier and is only $3 a month. I would be just so incredibly grateful, and it's the best way to directly support my art and my comic work. I hope you enjoyed watching or listening to this video. I never introduced myself properly, but if you're new here, my name is May. I'm a comic and character artist, and here on YouTube I make cozy draw with me type videos, from sketching in my sketchbook to digital speed paints like this one, always with some form of voiceover to make for easy listening while you draw alongside me or do anything else like chores or whatnot, anything in which you'd like a little bit of company. But anyway, thank you again for watching. I will see you next time. Bye bye!